Hello, professors, uh, distinguished professors. I would like to thank you, Professor Anna, for giving me this opportunity to be an invited plenary speaker. It's a great honor for me. I have been attending your conferences and your events for many years, and it's really amazing the way how you have grown in many directions, in many dimensions. And I'm sure that this is a hard work of you and all your team members, which are at the backstage of this events. I would like to share with you today my research, which is focused on the Balkan countries, especially on their some of their indicators, which are related to the quality of governance, which at the end it affects the integration process and the acceleration of this process towards the European Union. Let me share with you, dear professors, my my presentation. I hope that you can see it. Just let me give a short, brief description of me. I'm Professor Fatbardha Kadiu. I come from the University of Western Balkan in Albania. It is a new university, but it is innovative university. It is focused in medicine science, in economics, in technology and innovation. My paper, it's the title of my paper is Balkans towards the European Union, the indicators which should be considered. And the aim or the main question that I would like to give an answer through my research is what are the indicators that the Western Balkan countries should consider during the policy making in order to accelerate their integration process. As the conclusion of the papers, I would say that there were some indicators which proceeds better in the non-EU member states rather than the EU member states. And also at the end of the paper, I have mentioned each country's the most important indicators which the government should be focused while designing their policies. The data that I have used are from the World Bank, and the time series belongs to the period from 2012 to 2022. We research and write scientific papers to serve and make the society or to make our community live better. And I think that this research is beneficial from not only from the academic point of view, but I hope and I strongly believe that it will be a useful and beneficial paper also for the policy making and whoever is listening to this conference or whoever will go through the paper. So it looks like it comes from the political content because most of the Balkan countries' government representatives, when they're in their conference presses or during their speeches and they're asked about the EU integration process, they have different answers, but most of them would focus their answer on the idea that the European Union, for the moment, they are dealing with their own internal problems, so they are not very much focused on the enlargement process. So at this time, it came out the question that is it really like this, or do the Balkan countries progress in a good way from the economic perspective? Are their macroeconomic parameters doing well? How is the quality of governance of this countries? From the literature and theory point of view, I would say that most of the theory and the literature, it comes to the conclusion that whenever the macroeconomic parameters, whenever the indicators do well, the integration process go through some acceleration, which is not the case of the Balkan countries. So in my paper, I have considered 6 indicators which are part of the quality of governance for these countries. And I have considered or analyzed the corruption control, effectiveness of the government, political stability of these countries, rule of law, quality of regulatory, and the public participation during the decision-making process. So in my paper, I have considered all the Balkan countries, and I have categorized them in 2 groups. The first group are the EU member states, which is Greece, Romania, Croatia, Bulgaria, and Slovenia. And here I have excluded Slovenia from my paper because the Slovenian indicators were highly unlike the rest of the countries. So Slovenia is really doing very, very well. And the second group is the non-members of the EU, which is Albania, Kosovo, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Serbia. Here for Kosovo, there were some data missing for some years. So for my analysis, I have gone through a linear estimation of this data. So these 2 are, let me say, these 2 are the limitations of my research and of my study. So first step, I have gone through each of these indicators by categorizing into different groups. So the control of corruption, as you can see, is high enough in the European Union countries, comparing with non-European countries. It is the same, I would say, for the effectiveness of government, but as you can, and also as you can see, the trend of these indicators is kind of parallel for both of the groups. We have the political stability. As you can see, that the trend of political stability comparing these 2 groups, it's a little bit different from the rest of the indicators. I would say that the political stability is an indicator where it is very sensitive in some countries. And I would say, for example, that the indicators of political stability for Albania is better than that of the Greece. So it's a case when, as I mentioned before, there are some indicators which belongs to the non-EU countries, which are higher than the European countries. And I'm talking here just for the Balkan countries. Here we have the trends for the last 3 indicators. So I put them in the same slide. It is the rule of law, it is the quality of regulatory, and the voice of accountability. Again, we have the same prediction, we have the same trends for all of them, but as you can see at the quality of regulatory, you can see that the European countries tend to decrease this quality, whereas the non-European countries tend to progress to this indicator. After having this comparison with the 2 groups, I went through and I have I wanted to find out the correlation of the quality of governance, which in a way it is the indicator which is affected by this 6 parameters, and I wanted to find out how statistically significant they are for the countries. So finding their correlation, if they are statistically significant to each other, and which are the countries which have the highest sensitivity, so the highest impact on the countries through these countries. So if I would like to put all of these tables in just one, so to summarize them, I would like to say that going through the correlation of the quality of government in each of these indicators, I found out that the quality of governance and the corruption control were found to be positively and statistically significant. The significance of this indicator resulted to be intensive in Romania, in Greece, and in Albania, with a correlation coefficient over 0.8. And regarding to the sensitivity of this indicator, Albania exceeds the EU countries such as Bulgaria and Croatia. The country with the greatest sensitivity to political stability and the lack of violence turned out to be Kosovo, Northern Macedonia, Serbia, Albania, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, which are countries that have their permanent ethnic tension within them. The correlation between the quality of governance and the rule of law, there was a strong connection of Serbia, which they showed a correlation of 0.961, followed by Greece 0.934. The indicator, in fact, they were treated as the representative of democracy, and the countries with the highest sensitive turned out to be Greece and Albania, with a correlation respectively to 0.8 and 0.6. So Greece meets the theoretical expectations. The strong sensitivity of Albania to the democracy can also be read as the need for projection in order to have a better and a higher quality of governance. So we can see in here the indicators which are most relevant or which are most sensitive to the countries. Each of the countries has its most sensitive indicator, and these are the ones which are the bolds over here. I have included in my presentation the conclusion just for Albania and for Romania, whereas on the paper you will find the conclusion for each of the countries. I would say that Albania should give more focused and more importance to the effectiveness of governance. I would say that the effectiveness of governance, it comes to most of the non-EU member states, and I would relate this one with some laws which are all the same for the EU countries, like it is the Maastricht Treaty, or there are some laws which are the same for these countries. They are related, for example, with debt, public debt. They are related with government expenditure. So there are some limits that any of these countries should go through. Whereas this is not the case of the non-EU countries. And the second indicator that Albania should consider is the political stability, followed by the control of corruption, rule of law, and the public participation. Whereas the Romania, I have included Romania in here, they should consider more the corruption control, rule of law, public participation, and then the effectiveness of the government. That was all my research. For any question, please feel free to ask me, and I think after going through reading the paper, maybe it will be more clear the result. And please, for any kind of question, just write to me, and I think that you will have my contact later on. So dear professors, thank you for your time, and once more, thank you for making me part of this plenary section. Thank you, and I wish you have a nice day, all of you.